Number 10. Christina Zanato, the Shark Whisperer. Christina Zanato is often called the First Lady of Shark Diving, but she doesn't just dive and swim with the scary guys as if they were toothless, harmless little fishies. She actually communicates with them. And believe me, whispering underwater isn't an easy task, but Christina sure is an impressive lady. Not only was she inducted into the Women's Divers Hall of Fame in 2011, she's been fighting for sharks' welfare for years, all the while working as a diving supervisor, diving instructor, and shark dive professional at UNEXO, the Underwater Explorer Society on Grand Bahama Island. Her shark whispering doesn't just consist of chatting away with them. They wouldn't have much to answer in way of words anyway. But she also uses a delicate procedure called tonic immobility to sort of hypnotize the shark when she needs to do something scary, like remove a fisherman's hook from a shark's mouth. Watching her swim around the sharks is like watching an amazing mermaid show, except this is for real, folks. Number 9. Cesar Millan, the Dog Whisperer. 46-year-old Cesar Millan is without a doubt one of the most famous animal whisperers on the planet. His TV show, The Dog Whisperer, has been on the air worldwide since 2004, for over 9 seasons according to IMDb. Although his calm, assertive energy technique has been criticized by many, including the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, there is no denying that this once illegal immigrant to the United States has a magical way of communicating with the most unsocialized canines. And if people didn't have some trust in his methods, he wouldn't have had so many convinced fans swearing by his techniques and running out and buying the DVDs of his TV show season after season. Number 8. Spikehorn Myers, the Bear Whisperer. Around 1930, John Myers, who everybody knew by his nickname Spikehorn, opened a bear and deer park on his own property in Harrison, Michigan in the United States. Although he seemed about as hairy as his grizzly friends, Myers was a pretty civilized dude and knew how to make the most of his talent for interacting with wild animals that could have easily made a meal out of him. He'd open his property to tourists and entertain them with his great tales about the wild frontier. He'd even take many pictures of himself playing around with the bears and turn them into postcards so that the tourists could buy souvenirs when they came around. Since the term whisperer wasn't coined when Myers was around, he was never actually called a bear whisperer straight to his face, but that certainly doesn't mean that he wasn't one. People called him the Bear Man of Michigan. Spikehorn died in 1959. Number 7. Andre Hartman, the Great White Shark Whisperer. Another great shark whisperer is South African diver Andre Hartman, who with a friend opened a company called Marine Dynamics that takes tourists underwater in cages to observe great white sharks in action. One day, Hartman noticed that the great whites were somehow attracted to the boat's motor and would try to take bites out of it. To get him to stop, Andre pushed one away by touching the tip of its snout. The big fish lunged up and then fell backwards as if it were in a happy trance. That's when Hartman realized he'd touched the electric receptors in the fish's snout, something called the ampullae of Lorenzini that's found in cartilaginous fish like sharks and rays. Apparently it's so sensitive that the smallest touch sends a rush of information to the shark's brain and puts the fish in a trance caused by a temporary sensory overload. Since then, Hartman's been so used to being around sharks that he regularly swims among them and makes them pull him along by grabbing onto a fin. In 2004, his foot was bitten by a shark, but he recovered completely and went right back to his shark diving business. Number 6. Kees Scheepens, the Pig Whisperer. Dr. Kees Scheepens is a Dutch veterinarian who specializes in consulting for pig farmers in Germany, the Netherlands, and other countries. I bet that's something you don't hear every day, right? Scheepens, which could be considered a predisposed name for somebody who's going to get into veterinary medicine, but not necessarily somebody who'll specialize in pig behavior, has earned the nickname the Pig Whisperer because he's developed a holistic approach to understanding pigs, which means he takes into account mental and social factors rather than just deal with physical symptoms to treat a condition or disease. Pig Signals is the name of his company, and its goal is to educate farmers on how to monitor their pigs' needs and to be more in tune with their care and health. Scheepens is so good at what he does that he can de-stress a piglet to the point where the little fellow looks like he's been hypnotized. Amazing! Number 5. Sean Ellis, the Wolf Whisperer. Sean Ellis, our wolf whisperer, is often even called the Wolfman because he takes his wolf whispering to another level, taking literally a hands-on approach, actually even becoming a member of the pack. Ellis is part of a selected group of people who have direct human interaction with captive wolf packs at the International Wolf Center in Ely, Minnesota in the United States, a research institute which was founded in 1989. The fact that the wolves at the IWC are so socialized to humans at a very early age, it enables easier veterinary checks, not to mention amazing wolf behavior viewing opportunities from the center's glass windows. The mission of the IWC is to teach the world about wolves, and Sean Ellis has made it his life's mission to develop a strong bond with the wild canines that are scary to most of us. Number 4. Ken Globus, the Bird Whisperer. Bird Whisperer Ken Globus isn't necessarily a household name or even a fairly famous guy, but he certainly ran in circles of famous people since his bird taming talent made him a very popular guy in the TV and film industry. For over 25 years, Globus handled many antisocial birds after having dealt with avian friends at his parents' pet store in Inglewood, California, not too far from Hollywood, USA, where almost all the birds had been caught in the wild. Very quickly in his career, Globus threw out all the books on bird raising and used his own innate sensitivity for the feathered creatures. Through the years, he developed a new way of taming birds that had been deemed almost impossible to handle. When Globus died in 2008, he left behind a great heritage, which allows many of his disciples to continue his legacy of progressive desensitization of birds. Number 3. R.C. Bridges, the Buffalo Whisperer. Quinlan, Texas native R.C. Bridges grew up stunt riding in rodeos and then worked as a wildlife ranger and a farrier. In 2005, his life changed when he took in a most unusual animal, an orphan baby buffalo. He named his new friend Wild Thing and treated it like a member of the family, having it live in the house like a human, which of course can sound a little strange. Even crazy. Well, it seems that as Wild Thing grew, he even got his own room, his own cell phone, and Xbox. Just kidding for those last two, but Bridges did teach his buffalo to dance, to pull a cart, and even to ride in his car. 7 years later, he took in another buffalo named Bullet. Of course, this isn't recommended for everybody, but it certainly seems to be working for this Buffalo Whisperer. Number 2. Ned Bruja, the Skunk Whisperer. You might wonder how or why somebody would become a skunk whisperer, right? Well, in Ned Bruja's case, he's actually into wildlife control, rehabilitation, and conservation in general. But as a child, growing up among forest animals and developing control techniques, he learned how to keep chipmunks from disturbing grave sites of all things. Later on, by studying ecosystems, he learned the value of proper wildlife relocation instead of extermination, which, you guessed it, includes skunks. But Bruja's business focuses on having wildlife relocate themselves, changing the environment to make it less attractive to them, instead of trapping and moving animals. His clients include squirrels, raccoons, possums, geese, foxes, coyotes, and, yep, skunks. Bruja has committed his life to these endeavors, and you should check out his Facebook page, which is dedicated to education about wildlife, as well as support for wildlife rehabilitation centers and conservation programs. Number 1. Kevin Richardson, the Lion Whisperer. Kevin Richardson would definitely be considered a cat whisperer, but not just any cat. He's developed an almost symbiotic relationship with the biggest cats of the family, lions. 41-year-old Richardson works as an animal ranger at the Lion Park in Lanseria, just outside of Johannesburg, and is known around the world for his mysterious ability to relate to South Africa's wildlife, especially lions. The fact that he had a career in physiology before, working with human patients who had undergone surgery, certainly doesn't hurt. He's been quoted as saying, "I don't use sticks, whips, or chains. Just patience. It may be dangerous, but this is a passion for me, not a job. I'm someone they relate to. I enrich their lives. If these animals are going to be kept in a captive situation, don't they deserve to have the best care, the best entertainment, the best lives?" Richardson has really become part of the Lions family, which inspired the title of his book, Part of the Pride. He also works with conservation organizations to benefit the animals, as well as a consultant and animal handler for movies and TV.